once in a while in business you have to sit down and do a self-assessment and evaluation of what you're doing and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe it's time for a change. And I think that that's what motivated me after watching these terrible defeats that we've had locally to say, hey, wait a minute. The Democratic Party has always been a very strong party in the city of Danbury, has managed the city of Danbury extremely well. We can do better than this. And right. Many people in the community have approached me and other leaders within the community itself and said, hey, what are we going to do here? What can you do for us? So collectively, we've put together this slate, which I think will bring some new blood into the Democratic leadership of Danbury and the Democratic Party.
And I want to add a little bit to that myself, in the sense that there's some that say, well, they're coming up in the right way. They've picked up a few seats. All of the wins that were involved were all isolated extra work on the part of people that were involved. In the 6th Ward, I was involved there with the 2 candidates. Those candidates really worked those streets, and they were motivated, with myself along with them, to win. And then there was one other person that ran well, regardless of what one thinks about her, and that's Lynn Tabersack.
Yep.
She worked hard, and she got elected. But they were had nothing to do, these victories had nothing to do with the current leadership.
That's true, and it pretty well demonstrates how it's fragmented rather than operating as a team to bring everybody into office rather than individuals having to go off in their own direction, and that's the only way they can come about a win.
Right.
John, if I could just add one thing. One example of a real organizational failure was in the city clerk's race. Eileen Kolodarski won I think 6 of the 7 wards in Danbury, beat the president incumbent on the machines, but was defeated soundly in the absentee ballots. That's an organizational thing, getting absentee ballots, processing absentee ballots, following up. That's something that town committees should be doing as a matter of a strong foundation of a party. And in this case, they let Eileen Kolodarski down, and had a strong town committee been in place, one that knew how to process absentee ballots according to the laws, she could have been the city clerk today. And I think that certainly is an inside baseball type of analogy, but it's really is emblematic of the type of organizational failures that are present in the current town committee membership and leadership.
Yeah. So from your experience, what would you have done differently, or what changes would you like to play?
Well, I think the first thing I would do if I was involved with the town committee, or would have done, is had some comments about issues that are going on in Danbury. I think if you research the papers, if you listen to the radio, you never hear the Democratic town chairman speaking out against the current administration. And I'm not going to take a position on any of these issues, but no one has said anything about taxes increasing in Danbury. No one has said anything about the BRT tax assessment exemption in downtown Danbury.
Well, until recently, there was 2 years of silence, as I call it, the silence of the lambs. And only when this election has been looming has any noise come out of this chairman.
Yeah, but it's 2 years too late.
Yeah.
The waiver or the exemption is already in place. The millions of dollars in tax revenues have been given away, and the burden that will come on the other taxpayers is going to start happening as soon as those certificates of occupancy take place. And the other thing which I find just astounding is that they called for this forum on zoning and planning. That was canceled. They called for a meeting of all elected officials after the election to have a self-examination. That was canceled. The recent town committee, which should be meeting to raise money plan fundraisers to gear up for the next elections, because with the new election calendar, the town committee...
Everything's moved up by a
Everything's
month.
moved up to April. So you got conventions will be in April. And yet our town committee's not meeting. They canceled the last 2 meetings. I mean, we've got a town committee that just doesn't want to meet, doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to win elections. And I think that we have to get some people in there who have an interest in the party, have an interest in winning elections, and have an interest in speaking out on some of the controversial issues that face the city.
Warren, what are some of the local issues that the town committee, you know, to expound on?
Well, I think that understanding that the town committee is the political arm. Those people that are public officials are involved in public policy, and one shouldn't control the other. They should complement each other. And the town committee certainly has an ample opportunity to speak up on these issues, such as the tax abatement for residential development in downtown Danbury, where they could have gone to the Common Council meetings. And they're half an hour prior to the to the Common Council meeting, the public has an opportunity to comment on any agenda item. They have to be the spokesman not only for the town committee, but they've let the entire Democratic population of Danbury down by not being their spokesman. The loyal opposition, I'm not saying that everything is wrong and everything is right, it's black and white, but in order to come up with good public policy, there has to be loyal opposition, and there has to be an offering of an alternative. And the Democratic Party should have a platform that speaks to those issues that affect us locally. You haven't heard anything. You can't do this in the last 60 days of a mayoral campaign. This is something that has to take place ongoing throughout the year. You just can't wait till the last 60 days and all of a sudden pick on a few issues and say this is going to be what our platform is. The public needs to know as you go along. We've done several bond issues. I think our indebtedness in the city of Danbury is going to, in the last 4 years, has tripled. What's the mill rate impact going to be to the taxpayers? As we give these tax abatements, how much of this are the taxpayers going to have to pick up? And what is the planning there? Has anybody asked those questions?
Well, the mayor is always in the paper, and unless you've got some status, the paper doesn't acknowledge you, because they've said this to me. So in other words, if you're the chair or the spokesman of the party, if you are, then you've got a forum, and they haven't been there. It's the silence of the lambs, as I call it. Only at election time do they try to say anything, and then they're so sheepish.
And in November, the lambs got slaughtered.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what's been happening. The pattern is you don't hear from them at all, except maybe a little bit of gibberish before the election, and then they get slaughtered.
And I think they've had 2 municipal elections to prove their competency in conducting these elections, and I don't see any change. And I see the same slaughter going on. And that's where I think that if you want a continuation of what you have, and a good example would be what you did in the past, you'll get the same results in the future. So keep the status quo, and you can expect in the future you're going to have losses as well. So that we offer that change.
You're going to at least challenge the mayor when it comes out and he says, I got a new neighborhood program, and it's the same thing that Eric was doing before, and he just puts a new name on it. You know, I don't know who's buying this except for new people in the area that don't know this. You know what I'm saying?
Repackaged programs have to be unveiled to the public as exactly what they are, repackaged programs. But certainly there are a lot of issues, but it takes a plan, it takes some leadership to put all this into effect, and that's what we lack here. We lack the leadership to bring these issues forward to the public, and therefore all Democrats suffer because there are no spokesmen out there for them. This is where we're failing, and the issues are many. We've had many opportunities to demonstrate what we would offer versus the current administration.
I was told that they're doing press, because I'm a member of the 6th Ward, all right? And I was told that they're doing press releases. I says, well, let me see the press releases. You got 12 press releases? They didn't even have 2 press releases. You know, so what I'm saying is, you know, you say you're doing press releases. I would expect something like 10 or 12 press releases once a month, and then you can say, well, it didn't get in there. Well, they don't have a file.
I think we can refer back to the last election, and the mayoral candidate, in making his concession speech, pointed out that there has to be a change in the leadership. Also, in the endorsement of Mark Boughton in the last editorial in the Danbury News-Times, it also pointed out that no matter what the outcome of the municipal election would be, that the leadership of the Democratic Party has to change. I think that all of these things collectively, and what you see, indicates change is necessary. And it's not to create any kind of division within the party. I think the party has had ample time to make a careful analysis of the current leadership and make a good decision. So we offer a change, with the change in the 1st and the 2nd Ward, which would effectively change the makeup of the town committee.
Because there's a couple of officers that are part of that slate.
That's correct. And once that takes place, the body itself, that is the town committee body of 28, will decide as to who they want for leadership and who they want for officers. And that takes place after
the next Monday.
The next Monday. So this is what we offer Democrats, is a change.
So if they come out and vote, tell us about, again, the date and times for the primary, when the polls are going to be open.
Well, the primary will be held March 7th. It'll be at the Danbury High School gym for the 1st Ward, and it will be at the Pembroke gym for the 2nd Ward. And the polls will be open 6 a.m. in the morning till 8 p.m. in the evening. And our slate is located on the B line. As Joe pointed out, there is no A line because there are no endorsed candidates. The reason we're on the B line and the opposing slate is on the C line is a matter of who submitted their petition to be on
there first.
There first.
Right.
And
you were
we showed our initiative there by being first.
Right.
And so far, most of our campaign and our initiative
has been ahead.
And I think you have to show that kind of eagerness to demonstrate what you can do for the party as well.
Right.
And Joe is, some people have mentioned in various degrees about Joe Walkovich and Jametta Schmaha's involvement in this campaign, and to me it's like, would I turn away Morrison's or any of the top political people's advice? Joe has a proven history, and so is Jametta, of winning campaigns. Their tenure as town committee chairman and state central person were very successful, and they are very much aware of what is necessary to achieve success. And that's really what it's all about. We want to win. Democrats deserve to win because they offer something much better in management of the city of Danbury.
If you just examine the issues again and again and again, the issues should be beating this mayor. So you got a point. And you hear it in any coffee shop or any group that I've gone to. Where's the Democratic chair? He doesn't circulate. He doesn't exist. It's almost like there's a vacuum. They see a few former office holders making their ways around, like myself and Warren, but they don't see. He's non-existent in public. When you were chair, Joe, you were visible. You'd be at the Chamber of Commerce events or whatever. Just totally, he's not there, and he's not there in the paper when there's comments being made, when you're doing a substitution, or so the smoke and mirrors are being brought out by this mayor. There's nobody there to challenge him because the newspaper's looking around. Okay, where's the leader of the Democrats, or where's their spokesman? If he can't talk, he could have somebody else speak for him, have a spokesman, and neither one is being done. So definitely...
well, you don't hear from the State Central Committee person, no. Jim Maloney. You don't hear from the chairman. You don't hear from any of the officers. And Tip O'Neill noted that politics is all local.
Right.
Local government, these aren't complex issues. They're about taxes, they're about services, they're about education. And those are probably the three most important things that people are concerned about. And all you have to do is zero in on those and some of the inadequacies that seem to exist in the community, and people will respond. They really will.
We have a couple more minutes to go, so if you...
Well, I just hope people, when they have the opportunity and they think this through, that they're not in any way that their focus is not lost in other facts besides the issue of how professionally you run the town committee, and doesn't get weighed down with any of these personal things that tend to obliterate the facts.
You know, I'd like to just bring out one point before we close, and I think people should ask themselves, why would Michael Seary come out of retirement? Why would Nick Nero come out of retirement to run for a town committee position? It's because people who have served our party for many years are frustrated. Frustrated by the lack of winning, frustrated by the lack of a voice of opposition, and frustrated by the leadership that seems to be lacking in our party.
Very good point. And on that point, I'm going to have to say good night because they're waving to me. It's time to go. I want to thank you for coming on the show.
John.
Good night. Good luck.
I want to thank the viewers for tuning in to the Community Forum. Tune in next week, same time, same station. We'll have another interesting program. Good night for now, and we'll see you then.